Well, to Indonesia now, where the country's parliament has approved a new law banning sex outside of marriage. Lawmakers in the Muslim-majority country also agreed to criminalise unmarried couples living together and adultery. Anyone caught engaging in premarital sex could face up to a year in jail, and the rules apply to both locals and foreigners and will take effect in 3 years' time. Well, joining me now is Andreas Harsono from Human Rights Watch in Jakarta. Welcome, Andreas. What do you think about this law banning sex outside marriage from a human rights perspective? Surely this is a private matter.
Oh, it is absolutely. It is a private matter. This law will violate women's rights and also LGBT rights, and also religious minorities, because there are many elements against religious minorities, as well as freedom of association and freedom of expression. This is a disaster for Indonesia.
Well, Andreas, how will it impact Indonesians?
Mostly were shocked. They were shocked. They are stunned that this kind of law was passed. But to be fair with my many Indonesian friends, Indonesia is becoming increasingly conservative over the last 2 decades. There are more and more regulation passed in the name of religion. Of course, in this case, is in the name of Islamic Sharia, more than 700 over the last 2 decades, including mandatory hijab rule, including curfew at night for women. Some areas 9 p.m., another 11 p.m. Women cannot travel without their husband or son or brothers, against LGBT, against religious minorities, against non-Muslim minorities, against non-Sunni minorities like the Ahmadiyya, Shia, etc. So this criminal code was passed under this kind of environment.
So it is becoming much, much more conservative there in Indonesia, is what you're telling me, Andreas?
Yeah, it is becoming more and more conservative, although we need to differentiate between Muslim majority areas like Java or Sumatra Island. And of course, it is different with Hindu Dharma majority Bali, or Christian majority provinces in eastern Indonesia near Australia.
Well, many New Zealanders will be familiar. They travel to Indonesia. They will be familiar with Bali, for example. It gets millions of tourists every year. Could these new laws also affect visitors to the country?
It is unlikely, because there are quote-unquote safeguards for this so-called adultery or cohabitation article. It could only be a case if a parent, a child, or a spouse reported you to the police. If your parents or your spouses or your children have no problem with you, including for unmarried individual, then it will be a problem. It won't be a problem. But, this is a law that cannot be enforced broadly. These are for selective enforcement. If you have, let's say, a son whose girlfriend you do not agree, and they go to Bali and you want to break them up, then this law can be a problem for your son or for your son's girlfriend.
Well, Andreas Harsono from Human Rights Watch in Jakarta, thank you so much for joining us here on 8 o'clock.